and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the channel. I am your ever so stuttered-filled host, Sabrius. Today is another glorious day in Minnesota. It is 68-ish, 66 degrees right now. A lot of this ride, as I'm going to go meet up with a couple friends, is mostly to test out the 360 camera, which I normally have mounted right there. But as I was perusing through Instagram, like I fall down that rabbit hole every single night, it seems, I saw a video of another person mounting it relatively on the back of their helmet. Now, what this does is, one, it can stop your bike, but it makes the camera much higher up, and anybody that knows anything about 360 cameras, the lower they are, it looks a little weird. But this camera being as high as it is should, in the situation of race footage in a full tuck, boom, you should be able to see absolutely everything around me, front, back, left, right, and it should make for some really cool footage. Something that I used to do is, while the camera was behind me, and the few race footages that I do have, I would have to mix this front camera with the rear 360 camera, and what ended up having to do, and this kind of sucked, was when you pulled from somebody, you could use the 360 camera, you know, as they kind of fall behind or go up, but my body would end up getting in the way. And clipping seamlessly that's cool. That a guy. That's another reason for the 360 camera. Now I can show you guys that. Anyway, it was a little minor headache because I don't know how to video edit. There's a minor headache trying to seamlessly mix the videos with the sound to have like the person shifting or me shifting match up with the actual sound of the camera, of both the cameras. I'm sure there's an easy way to do that. I just don't know. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comment. I use Adobe Premiere Pro. Either way, this, I shouldn't really have to do it. On the different side, if I did want to struggle once again and get the front cam to work to show you things like the RPM meter, then I can do that. But we'll get there when we get there. I'm very excited to be able to have one seamless footage of motorcycles doing this. It'll be really cool. That being said, I am currently on my way to meet up with a whole bunch of friends. One of them who has grown relatively close to me in the very recent past. It's kind of another support the moto community. I've met some of my best friends, some of my closest friends, people that I trust because of motorcycles. And if there's one thing all motorcyclists have in common, we love talking about our motorcycles. This is essentially what happened with this gentleman. I met him and his girlfriend last year whilst out on a ride, and we hit it off ever since. He's a very good human. Well, let's tangent off to a completely opposite side of the earth, something that I want to talk about. I have this weird want to talk about comics on this channel a lot. I grew up reading a lot of comic books. I grew up watching a lot of comic TV. 90s X-Men is... 90s X-Men or animated Batman. Either way, both of them are fantastic shows. I grew up on them. I grew up on comic books. Somewhere downstairs in my basement, I've got, interesting, you know, 1,000 comics or so. I don't know, I never really counted them, but I've got quite a few. My wife and I, when our son was born, couldn't completely agree on the color that we wanted to paint my son's room. So we ended up getting this, like, I don't know how to explain it, this plastic stripping, I guess, that has like a channel in it. And this channel is the like perfect width of a comic book inside cardboard. And many of you may or may not know that when you buy a comic, you can get it what's called bagged and boarded. And basically it's just a piece of cardboard in a giant Ziploc bag. This keeps the comic in good condition. So I took a whole bunch of those, lots of Batman, lots of Green Lantern, lots of Spider-Man, and we ended up basically painting my son's room with a whole bunch of comic books, wall to wall. I'll try to put a picture above if I can figure out how to do that. It's awesome. I love his room. But anyways, I wanted to talk about comics on this channel. I don't really know how it's relevant, but it's something that I want to do. A coworker of mine and I used to do this all the time. He knew more about comics than I ever will. We used to have this daily thing where you take Hero A versus Hero B, peak to peak, or at just their norm, who would win in a fight. So, and I think the importance of this differentiation is certain characters have a level of power creep that is ridiculous. Batman, I hope a lot of you people knew that I was going here. Batman being the #1 prime example. At a certain point, Batman was the strongest, the best fighter, the smartest person in DC. Contingencies for everything. He once got brainwashed, and his contingency plan was years before he got brainwashed. He ended up creating an alter ego within himself to take over if he ever got brainwashed, because that's Batman, or Bat-God as some might want to call him. So the importance of this was one of my favorite arguments back and forth with this gentleman was, in their normal state, who would win? Batman versus Spider-Man. In their normal state, I think Spider-Man pretty hands down takes this. Now, I'm talking canonical Spider-Man, canonical Batman, not 2099 nonsense, not Elseworlds, not Ultimates, not anything, just standard canonical Spider-Man. That being said, in a peak-to-peak argument, it's the polar opposite. Bruce Wayne, every single time, beats little old Peter Parker. Now, I love these conversations. I'd love to have more of them on the channel if I get that opportunity, if it makes sense to build into the channel, because comics are something I'm very passionate about. As much of a childhood thing as it was to me, there are a lot in comics that you can learn, such as, like, take the X-Men, for example. The X-Men were my #1 thing growing up. Most people don't know that when the X-Men were invented, they were invented to be an analog to Jewish suppression in Nazi Germany. If you really think about it, it makes sense, especially if you look at it from an objective point of view. You have one race of quote-unquote humans being bigoted and belittled and all that other kind of stuff, having to hide from another race of humans. X-Men has really changed. It's really evolved into now being a, how can I say this, a minority / civil rights accepting comic. Think of any sort of segregated class that you can possibly think about. There is a very prominent X-Men somewhere in there. I've been asked multiple times whilst raising my son if I would be trying to introduce him into comic books like I was, and my unequivocal answer is yes. I hope people know that I will be picking on Charles Xavier as much as possible, because that man is the worst. Anybody that thinks he's a hero or a good guy, read some comics of him back in the 60s. That dude is the worst. But that's something I want to talk about on this channel, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's something that for me is exceptionally easy to talk about, because the somewhat encyclopedic knowledge that I have of mostly, I'll admit, it's mostly DC Comics. I am a big Green Lantern fan. He's, aside from X-Men, probably my #1 solo hero. Ilyana Rasputin from the New Mutants is my #2 solo hero. But Batman, Green Lantern, X-Men, I grew up detesting nearly everything that was Superman. It's a good time. I can't wait to talk about that kind of stuff on this channel, and I really hope to actually get some debates started in the chat. I would love to get people all riled up on my opinion of who would win in a fight between Superman and Goku, because to me, there is only one right answer. Goku would mop the floor of Superman, peak to peak, or normal to normal. I don't care how long he's sitting in that sun, Goku wins. I hope to start something, that'd be fun. Anyways, I will pick this video back up when we meet up with the peeps. We'll go from there. Hopefully we can maybe get a couple other people onto this video.